You know, nothing screams Japan more than a robot ninja with a big chest. Hello everyone, Sobro Neo G&A Reviews here, and in today's Servant Spotlight, we'll be taking a look at the mechanical MILF herself, Katou Danzo. We'll be examining her stats and skills, as well as going over pointers on how to utilize her effectively, and an overall grade comparing her to how she stacks up to the other 4-star servants. Now on to Danzo's stats. Danzo has a max HP of 11,055 and a max attack of 8,935, which becomes 8,041 when accounting for her assassin class modifier. Her HP is average for a 4-star assassin, with her attack being just slightly below average, but when compared to the other 4-star servants overall, both her HP and attack are below average. She has a balanced stat spread that doesn't favor either offense or defense, but overall her stats, much like Assassin Paradiso, are very poor for a 4-star. Taking a look at her skills, her first skill is Artificial Limbs Karakuri, rank A++. It increases her quick and buster card effectiveness for 3 turns, between 20 and 30% depending on level. Her second skill is Ninjutsu rank A. It applies evade for 1 turn to an ally and increases their critical star drop rate for 1 turn between 25 and 45% depending on level. And finally, her last skill is Karakuri Illusion Act, rank B+. It applies invincibility to an ally for 1 turn, and increases their critical star drop rate for 1 turn between 25 and 45%, depending on level. As for her passives, she only has one, Presence Concealment rank A, which increases her critical star drop rate by 10%. Moving on to her deck and Noble Phantasm, Danzo has a Quick Buster deck with Quick Arts Buster Buster and a Buster Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm is Karakuri Genpo Dongyu. It deals heavy damage to all enemies with between a 300 and 500% damage modifier, depending on level, and it deals additional damage to enemies with the demonic trait between 150 and 200% damage, depending on overcharge. Taking a closer look at her deck, we see that her quick card hits 4 times, her arts hits 3 times, her buster hits twice, and her extra attack hits 5 times. She has an NP gain rate of 0.71% and a star rate of 25.5%. She has pretty poor NP gain due to just having 1 arts card, but good star generating from the double quick and high hit counts. Right off the bat, Danzo faces the same problem that plagues Assassin Paradiso, utterly underwhelming stats. Both her attack and HP are subpar for a 4-star, and even her NP gain is pretty bad, in large part due to her deck. However, the good thing about Assassin Servants is that they don't really depend on having good stats. Instead, they are a much more utility-focused class, and in that regard, Danzo has 2 things going for her. For one thing, she has some good star generating thanks to her passive and high hit counts on her quick cards, and also, she has a very unique skill set among assassins. Danzo is a defensive support, and she shows it with 2 monstrous skills. The first of her 2 defensive support skills is Ninjutsu, a targetable evade that also gives the target a sizable buff to their star generating. This is a simple but extremely effective skill. Not many servants can grant evade to other allies, and those that can are typically highly valued supports. Ninjutsu is flexible and can come in clutch in most situations. Her other defensive skill is extremely similar to Ninjutsu, but slightly better in one key way. Karakuri Illusion grants invincibility to an ally, as well as the same star gen buff as Ninjutsu. Invincibility is a straight upgrade over evade, and in most cases it's going to protect you from 95% of the enemies you'll encounter in the game. Much like Ninjutsu, this is also an extremely flexible skill. And finally, Danzo does have a little something for herself with Artificial Limbs. This buffs her quick and buster damage by 30%, and it's a really strong skill. It only has a 5-turn cooldown, so it's going to be active for a large portion of any given battle, but more importantly, out of the 6 cards in Danzo's deck, 5 of them are quick or buster, so she receives immense value to both her damage and star generating on a consistent basis. Skill level priority should be Artificial Limbs first for that consistent buff to star gen and damage, followed by Karakuri and then Ninjutsu for the shorter cooldown defensive buffs. Danzo's Noble Phantasm is an AoE that deals bonus damage to demonic enemies. Even though Danzo has low attack, this NP can do some decent damage against demonic enemies, and there are a lot of them. So this comes in handy whenever you need to farm a wave of demons, or ghosts, or those goddamn hydras.
Hail Hydra. Hail Hydra!
Unfortunately, it doesn't do much against servants and non-demonic enemies though. Lack of an NP interlude and low attack make the damage on this pretty awful, and it doesn't have any secondary effects like a stun or defense down that could be used for utility on the team. It should be obvious, but Danzo's main selling point, aside from her anti-demonic trait, is her 2 targetable get out of jail free cards. Evade alone will save an ally from almost any attack in the game for a turn, and anything that it can't protect you from, invincibility can. So outside of some extremely rare circumstances, Danzo can provide top tier protection for either herself or her allies. Combine that with the fact that she's also a damn good star generator, and you have some good synergy. Most quick and crit teams lack the survivability that arts teams have, so Danzo goes a long way toward keeping your team alive while also supplying them with stars. Danzo can also be used in combination with Battlesuit, so if you're in a tight spot, you can swap her in from your backline to give your other teammates an evade or invincibility to save them. In a way that's very befitting of her lore, Danzo plays very much like a 4-star version of Fuma. She's a good star generator that can protect an ally. But that's the point where the similarities end. Danzo suffers from a number of major problems. For one thing, while it may seem good to have 2 hard defensive skills, it can also be heavily redundant. Having an evade and invincibility as 2 separate skills eats up a slot that could be used to greatly help other flaws, like an enemy debuff or NP charge. Speaking of which, Danzo lacks any form of debuff. The extent of Danzo's utility to the team is just her defensive skills. Once those are on cooldown, she can contribute very little aside from stars. She also suffers from poor damage. Yes, assassins usually have poor attack, but even for an assassin, she is underwhelming. Her NP damage is among the lowest of all assassins, and her NP gain is bad, so you're not really going to get off more than 1 in any given battle. But unless you're going up against demonic enemies, her NP serves little purpose. Still though, there are a number of teams that appreciate her contributions. Danzo is built to do 2 things: feed your team stars while protecting them, and wiping out demonic enemies. For the first half of that equation, Danzo shines when she's able to support a quick or buster servant who needs crit stars but is relatively defenseless. Servants like Nobu, Raiko Lancer, and Zerker Lancelot. All 3 of these servants have a good star gather buff, so they won't have any issue nabbing the stars that Danzo generates, and in Raiko Lancer's case, she pairs especially well because she can buff Danzo's own star gen and damage. The crit support role fits Danzo best. However, if you do find yourself up against a wave of demonic enemies, she can potentially take them out with some additional buffing. Damage buffs from servants like Nightingale, Shakespeare, and Osakabe Hime really help elevate Danzo's damage. Nightingale has a powerful buster buff, and Danzo can do a good job of keeping her alive, so they kind of play off of each other. Shakespeare has a much needed NP charge to compensate for Danzo's bad NP gain, making him especially helpful for farming if you have Kaleidoscope. And Osakabe can help you in some longer fights since her buffs and debuffs synergize with Danzo, and she can heal. Danzo's Bondcraft Essence is Danzo's Ox. It increases the buster and quick card effectiveness of all allies by 10%. This has great synergy with your own buff, so it's good to use. However, generally speaking, if you're using Danzo in her support role, you want to maximize your star generating, so craft essences like 2030, Seaside Luxury, Be Elegant, or Dangerous Beast are all strong choices. On the other hand, when facing demonic enemies, you're going to want a little more damage, so go for craft essences like Kaleidoscope, Wolves of Mibu, Heaven's Feel, or Go West. Kaleidoscope and Shakespeare is an excellent combo for farming, while the rest work well for longer battles. In the future, make sure to scoop up Midsummer Memories, not just because it has Danzo in a banging string bikini, but also because it boosts her buster, quick, and NP damage, which is perfect for her. Overall, Danzo is an assassin that does have some good niche usage. She's a very good star generator for the team, she can work for farming anti-demonic enemies, and most importantly, she can give good hard survival to your team. But she's really lacking in utility outside of those 2 skills. Her damage is horrendous even for her class, and she struggles to reliably Noble Phantasm given how bad her NP gain is. So with all of that in mind, she gets a C+ from me. At the end of the day, Danzo is a star generator that can provide some useful defense, which can help in some niche situations, but most of the time she just doesn't offer enough in the long run compared to most of the other star generators or defensive supports in the game. And she kinda falls flat on her face when her skills are on cooldown. And those are my thoughts on Danzo. But gameplay aside, there are plenty of other, more important reasons why you should be rolling for the sexy Robo-Mom. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and if you haven't already, do check out my spotlights for all the other Shimosa servants, linked both on screen and in the description below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed the video. Join the party over at our Discord, chill with us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter. And I'll see you all in the next Servant Spotlight. Soberoni out. Later.